There's something liberating that happens when a woman reaches 70. It's as if a curtain opens, and suddenly many of the things that once seemed important simply lose their meaning. If you're at this stage of life or approaching it, you've probably already started to notice this too. That constant pressure to please everyone, that need to keep up appearances, that rush to do 1,000 things at once. It all starts to seem, well, a bit foolish. Psychologists who specialize in aging explain that this phenomenon is no coincidence. When we reach our 70s, our brains actually become wired differently. We develop what gerontologists call crystallized wisdom, the ability to see through the noise and focus on what truly matters. Research published in developmental psychology journals shows that women in their 70s experience a natural shift in priorities, moving away from external validation toward internal satisfaction and authentic living. This isn't about giving up or becoming complacent. It's about finally having the wisdom and life experience to distinguish between what deserves your precious energy and what simply doesn't. You've lived through decades of experiences. You've raised families. You've navigated careers. You've weathered storms that would have broken your younger self. With all that experience comes clarity. And sometimes that clarity reveals that many things we once thought were essential are actually just distractions. Today, we're going to explore 10 common things that often lose their meaning once you reach this wise stage of life. These insights come not just from psychological research, but from the collective wisdom of thousands of women who have walked this path before us. Consider this your permission slip to let go of what no longer serves you and embrace a more authentic, fulfilling way of living. The first thing that stops making sense after 70 is trying to please everyone all the time. For decades, many women have been conditioned to be the peacekeepers, the ones who smooth over conflicts and make sure everyone else is comfortable. But here's what psychologists specializing in women's development have discovered. This people-pleasing behavior often comes at a tremendous cost to our own well-being and authenticity. Think about it. How much energy have you spent over the years worrying about what others might think? How many times have you said yes when you wanted to say no, just to avoid disappointing someone? How often have you bitten your tongue when you had something important to contribute, just to keep the peace? Clinical psychologists who work with senior women report that one of the most common regrets they hear is, "I wish I had spoken up more," or "I wish I had put my own needs first." Sometimes, the beautiful thing about reaching 70 is that you've earned the right to be selective about where you invest your emotional energy. You no longer need to be everything to everyone. In fact, research shows that women who learn to set healthy boundaries in their later years report significantly higher levels of life satisfaction and better mental health. This doesn't mean becoming selfish or uncaring. It means becoming discerning about where your kindness and energy will make the most meaningful impact. The second thing that loses its grip on us is the obsession with keeping a perfect house. Oh, how many hours we've spent over the decades making sure every surface gleamed, every cushion was perfectly fluffed, every item had its designated place. But here's a secret that many women discover in their 70s. A lived-in home is so much more welcoming than a perfect showplace. Occupational therapists who work with seniors often observe that women who let go of perfectionist housekeeping standards actually create more comfortable, functional living spaces. Instead of spending hours each day maintaining impossibly high standards, they focus on keeping their homes clean, safe, and comfortable. This shift allows for more time spent on activities that bring genuine joy. Reading a good book in a slightly rumpled chair, cooking a favorite meal without worrying about every dish being immediately washed, or having an impromptu visit with a friend without frantically tidying up first. Here's a practical example. Instead of spending your Saturday morning deep cleaning baseboards that no one really notices, you might choose to call a friend you haven't spoken to in a while. Take a gentle walk in your garden, or simply sit with a cup of tea and watch the birds. These moments of connection and peace contribute far more to your overall well-being than having a museum-quality home. The third thing that often becomes meaningless is following fashion trends or dressing to impress others. The fashion industry spends billions of dollars trying to convince women of all ages that they need the latest styles, colors, and silhouettes to be relevant and attractive. But women in their 70s often discover something revolutionary: comfort and personal style trump trends every single time. Fashion psychologists have studied how clothing choices affect mood and confidence, and their findings are fascinating. Women who dress for their own comfort and preferences, rather than trying to follow external fashion rules, report feeling more confident and authentic. This doesn't mean giving up on looking nice or taking pride in your appearance. Quite the opposite. It means developing a personal style that reflects who you are now, not who fashion magazines think you should be. Many women find tremendous freedom in building a wardrobe around pieces that make them feel comfortable and confident, soft fabrics that feel good against your skin, colors that make you smile when you see them in the mirror, comfortable shoes that allow you to walk with confidence. These choices support your well-being far more than any trendy piece that pinches, restricts, or requires constant adjustment. The fourth thing that loses its power is the need to maintain toxic or draining relationships out of obligation. Throughout our younger years, many of us felt compelled to maintain relationships with people who brought drama, negativity, or emotional exhaustion into our lives. We stayed connected because they were family, because we'd known them for years, or because we felt guilty about setting boundaries. Geriatric counselors and relationship therapists consistently observe that women in their 70s become much more selective about their social circles. They begin to prioritize relationships that offer mutual respect, genuine care, and positive energy. This isn't about becoming antisocial. It's about recognizing that your time and emotional energy are precious resources that deserve to be invested wisely. Research in social psychology shows that the quality of our relationships has a profound impact on our health and longevity. Women who surround themselves with supportive, positive people live longer, experience less stress, and maintain better cognitive function as they age. This means that choosing to step away from relationships that consistently drain your energy isn't selfish. It's actually a health-promoting decision. Consider this. If someone consistently leaves you feeling upset, anxious, or emotionally depleted after spending time with them, it's perfectly acceptable to limit that contact. You might choose to see them less frequently, keep conversations brief and surface level, or in some cases, step away from the relationship entirely. Your peace of mind is worth protecting. The fifth thing that stops making sense is overcommitting to activities and obligations that don't bring you joy. Many women spend decades saying yes to everything, volunteering for committees they don't care about, attending events they don't enjoy, participating in activities that feel like obligations rather than opportunities. But in your 70s, you gain the wisdom to be more selective. Life coaches who work specifically with seniors emphasize the importance of what they call joyful engagement. Participating in activities that genuinely energize and fulfill you, rather than simply filling time or meeting others' expectations. This might mean stepping down from a volunteer position that has become burdensome, and instead spending that time on a hobby that brings you genuine pleasure. It might mean saying no to social events that feel obligatory, and instead choosing to spend quiet evenings doing things you truly enjoy. Here's what's beautiful about this stage of life. You have enough experience to know the difference between activities that energize you and those that drain you. You've earned the right to choose more carefully. Maybe you discover that you'd rather tend a small garden than serve on another committee. Perhaps you'd prefer to read to children at the local library, rather than organize another fundraising event. The key is choosing activities that align with your values and bring you genuine satisfaction. The sixth thing that loses its meaning is worrying about what younger generations think of your choices, opinions, or lifestyle. For many years, you might have felt pressure to stay current, to understand every new trend, to adapt your views, to match what seemed socially acceptable to younger people. But here's something liberating that many women discover in their 70s. Your perspective is valuable exactly because it comes from a different generational experience. Sociologists who study intergenerational relationships have found something fascinating. When older women stop trying to conform to younger perspectives and instead share their authentic viewpoints with confidence, they actually contribute more meaningfully to family and community discussions. Your life experience has given you insights that simply cannot be gained any other way. You've lived through historical events, social changes, and personal challenges that have shaped a unique worldview. This doesn't mean becoming rigid or dismissive of new ideas. Wisdom includes remaining open to learning. But it does mean recognizing that your opinions, formed through decades of real-life experience, have value. When you stop apologizing for seeing things differently, or trying to modify your personality to seem more with it, you often find that people actually respect and seek out your perspective more, not less. For example, you might have different views about work-life balance, relationships, or priorities than your children or grandchildren. Instead of hiding these differences or constantly trying to adapt your thinking, you can share your perspective with confidence while remaining curious about theirs. This authentic exchange often leads to richer, more meaningful conversations than pretending to agree with everything. The seventh thing that stops making sense is competing with other women or comparing yourself to others constantly. The competitive dynamics that might have felt important in earlier decades. Who has the nicer home? Whose children are more successful? Who looks younger? Who travels more? Often lose their grip as you reach your 70s. Psychologists specializing in women's development note that this shift represents a move from external validation to internal satisfaction. Research in positive psychology shows that women who let go of social comparison in their later years experience significantly less anxiety and greater life satisfaction. This makes perfect sense when you think about it. After 7 decades of life, you've accumulated enough experiences to know that external appearances rarely tell the full story of someone's happiness or success. Many women find it liberating to celebrate others' successes without feeling diminished by them. When a friend shares good news about her family, travels, or achievements, you can feel genuinely happy for her without that little voice wondering how you measure up. This shift allows for deeper, more authentic friendships based on mutual support rather than subtle competition. The practical impact of this change is profound. You might find yourself complimenting other women more freely, asking for their advice without feeling threatened, and sharing your own experiences more openly. These behaviors create a positive cycle that enriches all your relationships and contributes to a more supportive community of women around you. The eighth thing that becomes meaningless is following rigid schedules or routines that don't serve your natural rhythms. Throughout our working years, most of us lived by external schedules, work hours, children's activities, social obligations that happened at set times, regardless of how we felt or what our bodies needed. But retirement and the wisdom of age offer an opportunity to live more in harmony with your own natural patterns. Chronobiology researchers, scientists who study how our internal clocks work, have discovered that as we age, our sleep patterns, energy levels, and cognitive peak times naturally shift. Many women in their 70s find they naturally wake earlier, prefer to do mentally demanding tasks in the morning, and feel ready for quieter activities in the evening. Fighting against these natural rhythms just creates unnecessary stress This might mean having your main meal earlier in the day, when your digestion is stronger, scheduling important appointments in the morning when your mind is sharpest, or allowing yourself to rest when your body tells you it needs it, rather than pushing through fatigue because it's not time yet. Geriatricians often tell their patients that listening to your body's signals and honoring them is one of the keys to maintaining health and vitality as you age. The ninth thing that loses its power is the fear of being alone or doing things by yourself. Many women spend years avoiding solo activities because they worried about what others might think, or because they felt uncomfortable being seen alone in public. But women in their 70s often discover that solitude can be not just comfortable, but genuinely enjoyable and enriching. Mental health professionals who work with seniors observe that women who learn to enjoy their own company report higher levels of contentment and self-confidence. There's something deeply satisfying about being able to go to a museum, attend a concert, or enjoy a meal at a restaurant simply because you want to, without having to coordinate with others or compromise on timing or choices. This independence doesn't mean becoming antisocial. Instead, it means expanding your options. You can still enjoy activities with others, but you're not limited by their availability or preferences. Want to visit that art exhibit that opened last week? You can go on a Tuesday afternoon if that's when you feel like it. Interested in trying that new cafe? You don't have to wait for someone to join you. Many women find that once they become comfortable doing things alone, they actually meet more people. When you're confident and content in your own company, you're more approachable and more likely to strike up conversations with other people who share your interests. This can lead to new friendships and connections that might not have happened if you'd always waited for a companion. The 10th and final thing that stops making sense is postponing joy or meaningful experiences for some future perfect time. How many years did you spend thinking, I'll do that when the kids are older, or I'll travel when we retire, or I'll pursue that hobby when I have more time? The wisdom of reaching 70 often brings the realization that there is no perfect time. There is only now. Positive. Psychology researchers have identified something they call time perspective theory. The idea that how we think about time affects our happiness and decision-making. Women in their 70s often develop what psychologists call a limited time perspective, which sounds negative but actually leads to very positive changes. When you're aware that your time is precious and finite, you become more selective about how you spend it and more likely to prioritize experiences that bring genuine meaning and joy. This shift might manifest in small ways. Buying the good chocolate instead of saving it for a special occasion, wearing your beautiful jewelry on ordinary days, or calling an old friend just because you're thinking of them. It might also involve bigger decisions. Taking that trip you've always dreamed of, learning a new skill that interests you, or spending more time on activities that make you feel alive and engaged. The research is clear. People who focus on meaningful experiences rather than accumulating possessions report higher levels of happiness and life satisfaction. At 70, you have the wisdom to know what kinds of experiences truly matter to you and the freedom to prioritize them. What's beautiful about all these realizations is that they're not about giving up or settling for less. They're about gaining clarity about what more really means. More authentic relationships rather than more social obligations. More comfortable self-expression rather than more approval from others. More alignment between your actions and your values, rather than more adherence to external expectations. This clarity is hard-earned. It comes from decades of experience, from mistakes and successes, from periods of confusion and moments of insight. You've paid for this wisdom with years of living, and now you get to benefit from it. Every time you choose authenticity over approval, comfort over convention, or meaning over obligation, You're exercising the profound freedom that comes with age and experience. The women who embrace these shifts often report feeling more energetic, despite any physical limitations they might face. They sleep better because they're not carrying the weight of others' expectations. They enjoy their relationships more because they're based on genuine connection, rather than duty or habit. They find more satisfaction in daily life because they're living in alignment with their true preferences and values. Remember, these changes don't happen overnight, and they don't have to be dramatic. You might start by saying no to one obligation that drains your energy, or by wearing something that makes you feel good, regardless of whether it's fashionable. You might choose to spend an evening alone doing something you enjoy, or have an honest conversation with someone instead of just keeping the peace. Each small step toward authenticity builds on the others, creating a life that feels more genuinely yours. At 70, you've earned the right to live on your own terms. You've raised families, built careers, navigated challenges, and accumulated a lifetime of wisdom. Now is the time to use that wisdom to create a daily life that truly reflects who you are and what matters most to you. If this perspective resonates with you, I'd love to hear about your own journey toward authentic living. Please give this video a thumbs up if it reminded you of the freedom and wisdom that come with age. And don't forget to subscribe for more content that celebrates and supports women in their golden years. What resonates with you most from this list? Have you already let go of some of these things, or is there something here that you're ready to release? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights might be exactly what another woman needs to hear today. And if you're interested in more content about embracing the wisdom and freedom of your 70s, be sure to check out our video about rediscovering yourself after retirement. Your life experience is valuable, your perspective matters, and your happiness deserves to be a priority.